Toon is a bizarre human being to believe himself qualified to be president. How he tricks so many people is a wonderland of strange tales. I guess that's how. He's just entertainment as can be. But he actually believes that hiring a babysitter who turns out to be from last house on the left justifies mayhem against children. His logic is a peculiar defense of John Lennon by assassinating John Lennon. Anybody who did drugs was following John Lennon and deserved to die, except John Lennon, is what he argues. And therefore, I should own up to using drugs and happily ever after slapping five at the King Crimson barbershop with substance abusers. Well, the way the infiltration of semiotics, pardon me, but you're wrong, Toon. Child trafficking, torture, a nightmare of weaselry. Nerve agents in drugs that are far too strong for adolescent children. It's almost as if he's guilt-ridden by his defense of Lennon. And that, of course, is not allowed. Censored, censored, censored. You see in the Yellow Submarine, there's two Yellow Submarine clips in Alias Little Boy channel. A look-alike of a representative of closest continuer Little Boy of Toshiro Mifune is followed by closest continuer Little Boy of Lee Marvin. And they were setting up the Little Boy Yellow Submarine Axis Revenge that involved the murder, well, the four categories I've gone into in other channels, in other tapes, but the assassination of Kennedy and the Texas School Book, which is an early precursor of 2025 project. But what you see from this is John Wayne and Nosferatu had Tony Cervini and Watmaker, and they were staging a real-world scene to explain why they were going to get rid of Jimmy. Watmaker said, "Oh, you can stand on thin ice, see?" And he went down, and Cervini rescued him. And I laughed. See, you deserve it, Jimmy. Edith howled that you could get hypothermia. And this was all while they were planning to put me under hypnosis. They asked me, in accordance with the Geneva Conventions, can we put you under hypnosis, little Jimmy? I said, maybe. Attica State Prison hypnosis. Power of suggestion, delinquencies, mislead the child to perform for us, as Pope Carl put it. So, Toon basically mongers that John Wayne dacoitery, pushing hard narcotics on a terribly frightened and abandoned child in the presence of armed veterans of Vietnam, I believe, adults anyway, is good enough to deserve, well, let's put it this way. He's the moral equivalent of the LSD doing vibrator kid from the Israeli Air Force, who I went to the LAM with. A soft drug was going around at the King Crimson show. And in fact, Kasper Oski took one from me He give it to me. It was, in other words, plied on him. I mentioned that I had one. He said, give it to me. I didn't want to because it was so much softer than the other things that people were doing. It had a W on it. I was 13 years old. The music was a lot more powerful than the narcotic. But this is this is what George Galloway means by throwing you in the trash if you don't obey your mother. Mother was like, I'm just sick about it when she lost my double loop brain, but I don't think she lost it. I think she hogged it. And her idea is Joan Crawford. She believes in abortion. She's just sick about it. So you can put me in the trash, Galloway. My mother's take on the subject is, oh, drugs were everywhere in those days. In my mother's defense, I woke up in the car. She was trying to take me to the hospital, and she suspected Brecker. But the idea that those letters just piled up. My mother woke up one night screaming, somebody's trying to kill you, Jim. Someone's trying to kill you, Jim. The idea that those letters would just pile up in the dining room the way they did, and she'd be all innocent of it, is ridiculous, you know. They're processing an ideological war game. John Stockwell explained it when I met a weirdo from Claremont. He goes, they shouldn't be talking about Gurdjieff on the radio. And I said, why not? He said, because it's clandestine. He said, we talk about things in America, we discuss them. He says, well, you know what happened to Martin Luther King? I said, that wasn't inevitable. That was because of some creepy clucker. He goes, I know you don't. He taps his ears like this. Well, John Stockwell came the night after the Wall Street crash on my birthday and underlines it right. And he explains that the CIA was involved in drug trafficking. They were behind the MK Ultra, and if they got a little kid for nWhat's, then the little kid is to blame. Just ask Donald Toon. And they're not about, said Stockwell, to open themselves up to millions of lawsuits. So that's why John Lennon stepped out. You know, he was the progenitor, the salesman for MK Ultra. Now they have to make it, oh, it's ideological. It's a property penny. Oh, deaf suck, get tortured. And what makes you think you're special, white deaf suck? It's a shenanigan from the ideological contraption that is built into the sandbagger machine, covering for Gail Burson and Nosferatu, who build momentum, the nYours continuum of the moral slackers in the Green Party and the idiots. They actually pretend to believe that I went out of my way to hurt somebody who I liked. They actually pretend to believe this stuff. Seattle is a spinner beanie of Nosferatuism. They deceive purposefully on principle so they can grab your colored pencils from the locker and do all this dirty shit. I mean, it's so typical of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and Robert Fripp to bang on and on. Oh, you triumphed over your love slavery to Leslie Katz. Oh, you'll triumph when we give you the mercy of sepsis queer bait. It's so typical of them. And then they say that I'm the one who's betraying my peers by not admitting that I tried my father's cigar and nearly fell over when I was 9 years old and listened to Beethoven's 9 symphonies cover to cover.